feel compelled. I can't show you the video. I want to show you the video so bad now.
What's the video?
Bro, it shows this like girl getting shoved by an officer right here. It's full like, bro, like shoves her so hard to the floor, like.
Okay.
Woo, like.
You know what? I might have seen that already. I have seen the one where they shoved the old elderly man to the ground.
Okay, no, this was a female. This was like a fucking like some skinny ass female, bro. Like. This fool shoves her out the way and then like walks with like this swagger after. It's like a 5-second video and it still won't play. I don't understand.
What's up, YouTube? I'm here with Marcus.
What's the deal? What's the deal?
we're doing our typical. What are we doing?
We're having a debate class. It's debate class 101.
Class? No, this is reality 101. We do reality 101 class every day. We're fucking kicking it. Today's topic is the riots and why some really fishy things have happened during these riots. The first thing that we want to address is just the overall abundance of police brutality, starting with the murder of George Floyd all the way to like how police are handling these riots. Look, again, we're going to address every aspect, so I'm not just going to pick on police here, but we're going to start with the police, okay? There's like dozens of compilation videos floating online where, you know, police are essentially running into people, like you said, pepper spraying people, knocking elderly fools to the floor.
The one where he ran into the crowd in New York, the mayor said he saw it justified because there was stuff being thrown at this cruiser. You have water bottles and cones getting thrown at a car, which is like basically somebody throwing rocks at your house while you're inside because you're in like full protection, and that allows it to be okay for you to drive into the crowd through the barricade into the crowd. It was justified. It makes no sense,
bro. Okay, and the other thing, rubber bullets in the face of they're shooting rubber bullets, and they're supposed to shoot them at the ground, and they're supposed to ricochet and then hit people in the legs and torso.
Some of them
they're shooting them like point blank in the face.
Some of them aren't even bullets, they're like plugs, bro. The lady on the TV picked it up, and it was, bro, this shit was like half the size of the beer can, and it was a plug. It was like a round with a flat circular thing.
No, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, a plug. You gotta be out of your mind, dog. You gotta be on your mind. No reference to if there's kids in the crowd, babies in the crowd.
Well, it's like that picture I showed where that dude had the little girl on his shoulders, and then he had a pellet or like a rubber gun, like pointed to his face. Like it was like the same to you and I. So again, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of other things. Like I think it was like in was it Chicago or something? Like somewhere where they cut off the bridges, the exits from the cities, just to tell people.
They lifted the bridges in. I think it was Chicago. Yeah, they lifted the bridges on Michigan Street. They lifted the Michigan Street bridge up so nobody could get through.
And now they're getting really. I feel like they're getting really like empowered by the president, who's like gone on this crusade, like law and order. Wasn't that in Back to the Future? Wasn't that in Back to the Future?
But then he had a Bible.
Wasn't that in Back to the Future when like the world was all chaotic and they were like law and order? So wasn't that like it's almost like you see those like predictive programming like Simpsons, where like it's like, oh, the Simpsons predicted something, and it's like where he's like going down the escalator and like the dude drops a sign. It's like that, dude.
You seen the greeting of the man's voice when he said it too, like, I am your president of law and order. Like,
bro,
what the fuck kind
this fool had he had a photo op with the Bible. He had like the riot cops clear the protesters out. He had them like gassing like priests and shit.
Hey, bro, they ran into him hard too. I seen those two fools that fell to the ground. Yeah, the dude signed best sign I seen yet, bro. Aside from when I was 11, I turned 13 because I don't fuck with 12. The best sign I seen is cops everywhere, justice nowhere, yo. Cops flooding the streets with police, bro. The point of all of this is justice.
Regardless,
and you got police everywhere, but the 3 police that people are waiting on to be in the spotlight are nowhere to be seen.
Somebody was saying actually that they're almost willing to risk burning the whole country down before they put those other 3 cops up for like, you know, conviction or whatnot.
Do they want to put it to the
and that's
test?
the thing.
Do
I
they
mean,
wanna put
okay,
that
so
to the
let's
test,
put our tinfoil hats on for a minute here. No serious talk. Let's put our tinfoil hats on for a minute here. It's almost like this whole thing seems like almost planned. Like, I mean, it was like, okay, when this dude was getting choked, no, like they were all like in on it. It was just like there was 3 of them pinning him down. One had the knee on his neck, and then the other dude was like, like had his body cam,
You know
like
what
finishing
trips
away.
me out?
And the EMT didn't even like treat it like a
Yeah,
real
just
like
folded
casualty.
them. They just like folded them onto the thing. You know what trips me out? Like the fact. I mean, they have body cams on, and you know we're in 2020 where people will rather film than save a life. Like you could be drowning, right? We all seen the meme where the person's drowning and everyone's standing around recording.
Yeah.
Like that's the world we live in. So to be honest, like if I was an officer, like that would hit me in the middle of me doing something that I know is wrong, and that goes to show you that like clearly this officer had like a lot of hatred or didn't think he was doing anything wrong, because I would be thinking about this. Like he was looking at the picture that's on the news where he's kneeling, like he's looking into the camera of a person recording him. Like
Yeah, this is broad
you would
daylight.
think that thought would go across his head, like, oh shit, they're gonna see me right now. Like, oh shit, this is gonna be on the news. This is gonna get back to my department.
And that's why I said it
like,
almost seems sketchy, like almost like so like it. I hate to say it, like for lack of a better word, it looks staged. Not staged like it's fake, but it just looks like they like they wanted this. They wanted this. And it's funny, you might think, well, that's kind of far-fetched, but like look how militarized the police have become. Look how like they've become like a standing army.
I mean, yeah, no, they have.
I mean, it's like, do they want? Like, I mean, with the way they're treating
It's like
protesters,
it's like miniature. Like each city has its own army. Like the police are like little, like they're like little armies. They're little like army detachments. They might as well be army detachments, yo. They have like the same gear. They have the same. It's just, it don't make no sense to me, bro. Like you have so many cops, bro, and the protesters aren't getting mad until cops are. Listen, if you're getting mad because water bottles and shit are being thrown at you, fireworks are going off in LA every day, bro. Yeah, you're getting these fools are throwing, like you said, tear gas, pellets. Like you guys are actually shooting at people, yo. Like it makes zero fucking sense, dog. And it's just like an overflow of officers, dude. An overflow.
yeah, the ones in Manhattan right now live is like 1,000 of them standing around like 20 protesters.
Yeah, not all cops are bad, yo. I'll be the first. I'm an ex-army myself, yo. I'll be the first person to say not all cops are bad, yo. I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt, bro, because it's a hard fucking job to do, dude. But like I was saying to my guy earlier or the other day, you know, when you're stuck in a position so long and you're forced to look at people from a certain perspective for so long, cops are dealing with criminals. That's their job, right? So you're dealing with people who are doing bad every day. My thought, I'm not a psychologist, but my thought would be the natural human instinct a couple years down the line is your first instinct on a person is going to be that they're bad. You're going to start thinking that about everybody. That's going to be your first reaction, is a negative reaction, because that's in your job title. Just like soldiers,
like PTSD
soldiers come back right? What I was going to say, soldiers come back shell shocked from dealing with bullets all day. They hear a firework and they're fucking freaking out. Cops are, you know, I
met this dude once, like his I don't know, his brother-in-law or somebody, like he knew that had returned back from Iraq. This fool like couldn't be around people with cell phones. They had this like birthday for him, and like nobody could have the cell phone. That's what this dude was telling me.
That's deep.
Yeah,
I know.
That's like the Hurt Locker, you know, the bombs, the cell phone bombs. Okay.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. That's
so.
Oh, wow.
Here's another thing I want to address is this, and before we switch to other aspects of the riots, really, because protests are one thing. We have to again differentiate the two. It's Black Lives Matter protests, people that like want to bring police accountability. Then there's the riots and looting, and to me that's a separate issue completely. But it does seem to detract from the focus that, or at least where the focus should be, which is on police reform. People's constitutional rights being violated, systemic issues, racism, things like that.
The money they're putting into police, body armor, uniforms, weapons, vehicles, all this money they're putting in to beef up the police should be like transitioned into maybe a better training program for the police, maybe a better ethics program, maybe a better community relations program with the police. Like the money could be going other things. You're just like beefing up their weaponry, bro. They have BMWs with M4s attached to the back of them. Like there's an issue, bro. These are the same weapons our soldiers are using in Afghanistan, Iraq, and you got fucking cops on motorcycles.
Yeah, I've seen those
M4s
guys
attached,
all over.
including the baton and
LAX
the
has them.
sidearm.
LAX, yeah, LAX has them, and they have shotguns too. Yeah, I've seen those
yeah,
before.
shotguns.
LAX has them. I've seen them in Alhambra. I want to just talk really quick about the whole like. We've seen obviously some suspicious videos of people that like they've been called undercover cops and agent provocateurs, like people who essentially they're like with the police or like they actually are police and they're like coming into the you were talking about Green Berets, like infiltration of groups,
right?
Going in
of entire communities. Green Berets are infiltrating the community. You got to know the language. You got to fit in. You got to know how to dress. You got to know how to act. You're one of them. You're going somewhere. You're fucking on a donkey. You're on a donkey with fucking a baklava around your face, and you're fitting into the community, yo. Like, it's kind of. There's a baby. There's a baby. There's a baby.
Baby. Okay, so there's this guy with the wire on his, and he's got the beanie. Somebody snapped photos of him at the protest, and he was like, like doing some.
You know what? I saw a lady. I wonder if she's in my video. I saw a lady today when I was sitting there. Man, I'm glad you said that. I seen a lady today walking with black on. She had the earpiece on, bro. She had the earpiece on. She walked right by my car while I was sitting there record,
really?
And she was being followed by one other person. It was a middle-aged lady, dude. She's walking past. She has this, just like you said, in plain clothes. Looked a little too old to be worried about the protest, but looked like she could have a position in some type of intel or some desk job. Bro, walks past me with the clear earpiece on, and I tried to even listen to what she was saying. She said something about how she was talking about the route that they were going on. She said something about they've turned the corner at yada yada, they were turning the corner. I'm so glad you said that, and aside from the video, I'm glad you said that, bro, because I seen it firsthand today when I was sitting there recording that footage.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was coming this way, the whole crowd was turning the corner, she was walking this way, relaying information to somebody, bro. She had the clear ear set in her ear, and it was a lady. So that's definitely like your average female isn't walking around with a fucking ear set in her ear like that. Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
The guy with what about this guy that they recorded? I think it was in Minneapolis, if I'm correct. And he had the mask on, and he had like tactical gear
with the umbrella.
The white guy with the umbrella, it's a very tall guy, and he started bashing out the AutoZone windows, and it was not with, he was not, exactly,
like
methodically.
They're proud of their work, right?
And it wasn't just like a guy with a brick. It was like you said, like very methodical, like tap tap, tap tap, tap tap,
not
going
mad,
along. And people looked at him and they identified, hey, what are you doing? Who are you? Why are you here? And they chased him down, and he was threatening violence against them. He was like threatening to hit him and stuff. And they were like, "Hey, are you a cop?" And he didn't say no or nothing. He just kept walking off. And now here's the thing: I've seen, and I'm not trying to like promote Alex Jones here,
I want
but
to see if I have this lady in the video, dude.
Yeah, look,
making me wonder.
I've seen, regardless of what you guys think of Alex Jones, I mean, let's admit, not every single thing the guy puts out is. Not everything he puts out or ever has put out is bad. Some of it. It's eyebrow raising, and God, where was it? It was like some protest, and these guys filmed this guy causing mayhem, destruction, turning things over, starting fires or something like that. Anyways, I've seen this many years ago, and he walks back past the police line. He walks back into like where the police are, and they like open the thing for him. And that's why I'm like, and then 2014, I remember they were talking about this in the Oakland. There was some protest, and the same thing happened. They suspected something. The protesters that were out there, the rioters or whatever, they suspected these two guys were like something was up with them. They started chasing them down. They were with the group, and then they like started running away, and then they like started tackling them or something, and then they pulled out guns and were like threatening to arrest them.
Essentially, I would say it's precautionary measures. Like they know people are already upset about the police, so they're going to essentially send somebody out there to give reason as to why their actions. They know the police are gonna are going to, what's the word I'm looking for, not interact, but they know the police are going to confront, there's a word. They know the police are eventually going to actually confront the peaceful protesters at one time or another. So they want to validate that confrontation. In my mind, they want to validate that confrontation by, let's set a couple cop cars on fire, and that way when people point back to it, like, look how these officers came upon, but they were in the car.
We haven't even talked about that yet. Get into that, because you were saying the other day, you were watching that news episode. It was like a segment of a news channel. CNN. Okay. What happened?
Dude, I'm sitting watching CNN, and this was the protest. This was the ones in Hollywood, I believe. And there's a police line, and there's protesters. There's like 6 cop cars behind that have already been smashed up and stuff. Tires popped. No fires, no nothing. And the dude from CNN has his camera. He turns one way, then he turns the other, and when he comes back, all of a sudden the cop car is ablaze, yo. I mean ablaze, like, so nobody in the crowd, there were no fireworks going off at all. A simple lighter isn't gonna set the car on fire like that. And on top of it, they would have to fucking have, like, bro, this cruiser was sitting, like, with its nose out the police line, and the cruiser was there. Like, the doors were actually behind the police line of the cruiser. So, what a perfect place, right, to split the crowd from the officers. So anyway, the cameraman turns back, pans back around. All of a sudden, the cruiser's on fire. The lady in the CNN newsroom even asks him, like, how did the cruiser catch fire? I don't know, Anna. The crowd has been throwing stuff, yada yada. Bro, there was no accelerants. Nobody was throwing fucking gasoline. There was no reason that cop car could have caught fire like that. Fast forward a couple hours, my mom is watching the news, and they're interviewing some chicks, college-educated chick, wasn't even speaking angrily, was speaking like with moving words, like she knew what she was talking about, and she threw in there, we even saw an officer set a car on fire, and they turned around and blamed it on us, and it just ding, bell went off on my head. I knew I couldn't have been the only one that saw that. I felt like I was the only one. I was the only one at home watching it, and it jumped into my mind, like, wait a minute. And for that question to just jump into your mind, like, they say go with your gut instinct, right? So for that question to just jump into my mind, something caused that to happen, and it just clicked in my head, like, wait, that cruiser caught fire way too. This thing only panned away for like 10 seconds, bro. Came back and the car was ablaze, yo. Like, it didn't make any type of sense, man. But I mean, what happens after this, though? So the car's on fire. The police are having small confrontations with the line, and once the car catches fire, that so happens to be front and center. There's 6 cop cars there. The one in the very front is the one that catches fire, and what does it do? The black smoke and stuff comes up, and the crowd disperses because the chemicals and shit from the smoke, and just makes sense. The police weren't backing down from the police, but if, it would, from a military standpoint, if you want to get something done, what a better way to get that done, you light it on fire near the crowd, and then people aren't going to want to inhale that, so it gives them a reason to back up. It gives you, and that's exactly what it did. It made a huge gap between the officers and the crowd. Nobody in the crowd set that car on fire.
Here's another, that's...
Nobody in the crowd set that car on fire. Not one firework.
That's what I would call questionable.
What's up, Drew?
So the next thing I want to talk about real quick is this whole thing about pallets of bricks. I mean, I've been hearing this circulating. I even saw a video where these protesters, well, I shouldn't say protesters, again, rioters, walk up and they start undoing the pallet, taking off that yellow tape, and they start bricks.
We got bricks.
Yeah, they got bricks. But here's the thing: it's like apparently this in almost every single major city. Somebody's been stashing pallets of bricks. Now I did hear.
We're in 2020. How many construction projects are still using bricks, yo? We're not building.
But this is like on the routes.
Yeah, right.
This is on the routes of the protests. So it's like they're feeding into the violence. They want to almost instigate that, give them every tool they can to see businesses with their windows shattered and looted. And who is setting that up there? I don't want to jump in and say real
I'm surprised we haven't got any footage of who's done it yet. I mean, this is the era of social media and recording that we're living in. I'm really surprised that. Granted, what do they do on First 48, right? In the murder investigation, what's one of the first things they do? They go to the surrounding stores and get security camera footage.
Video footage.
I bet you if they would, but they're not going to do that. I don't know. Nobody's going to investigate.
And when that happens,
I bet you if somebody pulled that footage and you saw who was laying the bricks there, but they don't want to get that footage out there, bro.
Well,
we could go to. I wish we could go to one of these stores and be like,
this
camera,
again. I was bringing this up the other night. This reminds me. This kind of harks back to the Boston bombing. There was those guys. Okay, again, the Sarnaev brothers. They had like tan and white backpacks in the cameras that like caught them. The backpacks that had blown up were black. They catch these like 4 or 5.
That's a big blooper right there. Like once you actually fall back and think about it, like that's a huge blooper. They had the wrong color backpacks.
They catch like 4 or 5 guys on cameras, and these guys are tall, athletically built, Caucasian, and they're dressed in tactical clothing, but they're black, and they have black backpacks on. They set these black backpacks down right in the same area as the explosions. And then after all is said and done, you see these guys with like the FBI bomb squad and stuff. So you just gotta suspect that's just, you know, again, I was joking about tinfoil hats, but no, seriously, like, what are the cameras showing? There, I mean, again, it's like that one camera that caught in Iraq. It was like during some militia violence, they caught guys putting an explosive in a car. The car explodes. And about 10 seconds later, all these guys run up, they lay down, an ambulance, act like they're injured and dead or
that was
mangled.
An epic video. Yeah, that was crazy, yo.
So the point is what, regardless of what people think, what does the camera footage show? So the question that you're asking, and that's a good one, is where is the camera footage of who's laying down these bricks?
It's there.
And I'm not gonna say, hey, look, this is the government doing this. I don't even want to go there. Maybe it is. I'm not gonna go there. Maybe it's Antifa, or maybe it's these other like anarchist groups. But again, the point is, what this tells me is, regardless of who it actually is, this goes beyond Black Lives Matter and protests and people in town like wanting to like stand up for equal rights or whatnot. Somebody or some groups of people are putting these here. The question is, who and why? And I think the why seems pretty obvious to me. They want to stir up chaos.
My question, as all in anything with like any situation like that, would be like, what's the end goal? Well, what's your end goal with that? Like, what are you getting out of this? Like, I would genuinely like to know, like, if you're putting the bricks there and like the end goal is some like amazing thing, like, then maybe like it would validate it, but I doubt that. But what would they get out of it?
We've all heard of like COINTELPRO, right? We've heard about the FBI trying to break up, you know, in the 60s during the civil rights era, when there was the, you know, Martin Luther King and everybody was demonstrating and marching in the streets. There was a concerted effort in different levels of government to break that up and bring that to an end, really, essentially. I mean, listen to it, the FBI, and, you know, they have
if the word terrorist was popping back then, that would have been like deemed almost like damn near terrorist organizations, bro. Like,
I mean, we know like there's radicals in the government. I mean, the first and most obvious would be like the Klan and white supremacist groups, but beyond that, even like there's gangs and like the military and stuff. They come back, and we know the story that one ex-Marine, he went like Rambo on the cops with like
I
told you,
I just gave a ride to the sheriff officer, said the same thing. He was buzzing it, so I don't know if he knew what he was saying. He was pretty buzzing. This fool was like, man, you know how many cliques they have? You know how many cliques they have in the LA sheriffs? You know how many different groups they had? Like, there's groups there's groups within a group. It's like a mainstream group that the camera sees as to serve and protect, right? But within that, like, there's groups, just like within the military. There's gangs and shit. There's people infiltrate. Gang members join the military, right, to learn how to use weapons, to learn where to get weapons, to learn to master skills of combat, and then they take it back to the streets. How is that anything different than what could be happening with the police? I mean, same thing. They're not taking it back to they're doing it within. Like, they're not leaving the police department and going back to a gang. They're doing it while they're actually using the cover of the police department, like, to do it. The gang members are in the military doing what they got to do. They graduate basic training. They do what they got to do in the military.
There's entire like police precincts or like sheriff's departments and stuff that have got caught red-handed, like laundering drugs and stuff. And I know that there was even in the LA sheriff's department, there was the guys that got caught. They were going to Las Vegas smuggling drugs and stuff. They were trying to use like official cover, and they got caught, and it was like, and they were indicted.
You see how the cops are in the mafia movies. You see how the police are when they deal with like the mobs and stuff, and they do. I mean, not much has changed since then.
Okay.
Not much has changed since then, yo. Not much has changed since then, dude. Like, it's crazy. They're really beefing up. Like, I don't care if you're a cop, a fireman, whatever. Human confidence, human greed. Human is a human, bro. Like, you give somebody enough power, enough resources, enough tools, and you're just gonna boost that ego, boost that confidence, and it's really retarded. That's what they're doing with these officers. Yo.
I wonder though. I mean, again, this is why I have like alarm bells going off, and people might say it's just the nature of police, and like you're saying, the psychological principle. But when these guys have the cameras on them, literally, it's not just, again, George Floyd. They knew they were being filmed. It's these guys are going up to actual film crews from the media and rubber bulleting them in the face, like.
Yeah, they arrested the dude from CNN.
It's like these guys no longer care.
No, they were shooting.
If this is broadcast on live to international television, they're like, hey, here's our rubber gun. We're pa 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 pa, like to the media,
some terrorist shit,
to the journalists.
Like that's what you would expect in like Afghanistan with like a guy with a press thing on his bulletproof thing, and they still like shoot at him, or in World War II, and they're like putting prices on the medic's head, like fucking Vietnam when they were shooting medics, no care. Like that's the type of shit like a radical group does, like breaking the rules.
Well, that's terrorism. Terrorism is it's essentially using violence or the threat of violence against innocent people to push an agenda. So,
again, I want to say, bro, not all cops are bad cops, bro.
No.
There are so many good cops out there, but it's a problem to me, at least, when those good cops aren't put as much passion and determination as you do into catching a black dude with a fake $20 bill or selling Lucy's. Put as much passion or determination into catching a crooked cop. Arrest him. When's the last time you've seen a news story about a cop arresting a cop, or an officer found out his partner was doing something crooked and threw him under? You rarely see that, bro. Put that same passion and determination into something like that. And if you can't do that, then maybe it's just genuine hatred you have for other ethnicities, bro. But I mean, it's definitely it runs deep, bro. It runs deep in the system. Even the police, like you're just showing me the video of the protester right now that was live, that was yelling at the officers, and I just felt the need to say, like, I feel her saying her message, but every single one of those officers that I just looked at were probably like family men. Like, none of them actually have the pull to get that message like into the right hands. They don't. It goes above them. It goes above a lot of the officers. Officers out here doing bad shit, but there's a bigger goal here that you have to hit. Like you're cutting like a vein with the officers, but you have to be aiming for the heart, yo. Like it goes deeper, and that's when it gets into the government, yo. Like it goes deeper than that. A lot of these officers. I understand, like, a lot of these officers that people are yelling at, throwing bottles, like, listen, bro, the officer that you just hit with the bottle and the firework, he's not the officer that's going to be able to make that change. He won't be able to do anything about it. Could he be one of those that is out there on the streets harassing people doing the wrong thing? Yeah, maybe, but it gets bigger than that, yo. The change has to happen at like the core right now. You're throwing bottles at, like, you guys found like the building, like you found the hideout, and now you're like throwing bottles and stuff at the outside walls of it. You still got to get inside, yo. You still got to get inside and kill Hitler in the bunker, yo. Throwing stuff outside the bunker.
It's funny. What do you think about the president hiding in the bunker of the White House to turn the lights off?
I think I think he was infuriated. I think he was mad. Like, he was infuriated. He felt embarrassed. I think he felt highly embarrassed. Honestly, I think that's part of the reason why he felt the need to bust out the crowd and go do his photo op, because he felt embarrassed, like, I'm in hiding.
And he didn't even bring up, apparently the dude didn't even bring up like a quote or a Bible passage or anything. And like I said, they had the priest vacated from there with tear gas.
It's like reptilian the way he was standing there. I'm sorry to even bring
People
that
always
up.
make fun of how he stands. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like
he always does the head shit. Like, what? Like, is there like something trying to get out of you, bro? Like, what is inside of you that wants to come? Is the devil trying to come out of you? What is trying to come out, bro? He's an awkward human being, yo. And I'm not just saying that out of hate for Trump. Like, he's a legitimate. Like, his motor skills aren't
people
right
make fun
there.
of the way the dude stands. Even like, it's like you look at it, it's really awkward just the way he stands.
He always does when he gives his speeches, and I am your
There's a lot of people out there. Look, I want to say this. There's a lot of people out there. The Trump supporting media, talking heads in the conservative movement. They're like hooked on this dude like a cult. These fools there's like a cult at this point. I've always been very critical of Democrats and Republicans and everybody in between. But these guys, no matter what happens, I rarely see it. Like there's enough of people, and it's just devotion. It's almost like a worship. Like this guy can't do anything wrong, and they gave Obama shit for 8 years. Like, oh, when things were falling apart, it was Obama's fault, even if it wasn't his fault. But now everything's falling apart. You got 100,000 Americans dead.
Let's redefine what falling apart is in the meantime, right?
You got 40 million unemployed, at least 40 million unemployed. It's the most since the Great Depression, and then riots nationwide. It's not Trump's fault. It's not Trump's fault.
And all this guy does is tweet. All he does is tweet. This fool won't come out, hold conferences, won't step foot in one of the... Bro, he has yet to mention he wrote about it in a tweet when it first happened with George Floyd, but other than that, he has yet to mention it. He keeps talking about having to mobilize the military. He keeps talking about what he's going to need to do to shut protesters down, but he is not poking at the actual problem. He has not yet mentioned why they're out there. Like, you're talking about what you're going to do because they're out there, but he has yet to mention why they're out there. Like, the root of the... Bro, beating around the bush. He's a master bush beater, bro. This fool beats around the fucking bush and just has no... I don't know, though. Like, it's just complete disconnect.
Even George Bush and Laura Bush had to come out and, support the protesters, which is silly to me because these guys are, the architects... Well, him and his administration were the architects of these wars that happened, which killed millions of people, and it just destabilized the Middle East. And, all these veterans now, they came back, they didn't get help, they have PTSD. So, my whole thing is, what a joke. You're not the person to throw stones at anybody, even if Trump is in the wrong. Even if the police chiefs or whoever's in the wrong, this guy is not the one that should be, casting any stones. Look, I want to shift it real quick because we didn't bring it up. I mean, we're kind of touching on the subject of people intervening in the protests, and they were vandalizing. They were vandalizing.
Yeah.
And then they were getting yelled at. We got some people on camera, and these went viral. There was that one woman with the afro and those hoop earrings, and she was, hey, excuse me, what are you doing here? You're making us look bad. They're going to come after us.
I saw the two white girls that were writing graffiti on the wall. I didn't quite see what it said. It was on a Trader Joe's across the front door.
No, they were writing some stuff. I know BLM was thrown in there.
At the end, it said BLM, and that's when the lady started tripping out. Wait a minute, why are you putting that on there?
We didn't ask you to put that.
We didn't ask you to, yeah. Why are you they're going to think that was us, yo, and it's true, bro. I mean, but like I was saying to you earlier, especially after recording today, it's really interesting to see the type of peoples that are at these protests. There's some people that you would never think would be at the protests are there, and I don't know, some people are really piggybacking. Some people are really, have hatred in their heart for the government or for what's going on, but would never speak up, and now that, people are speaking up and do have something to say, you're jumping in the crowd and adding your 2 cents, right? But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of odd to me, yo. It's kind of odd to me. You got people graffitiing, looting, a lot of teenagers, a lot of young cats, maybe maybe bad parenting skills, get your shit together.
We'll put this charger, hold up.
Do you know what your kids are doing while they're not in school?
There we go. Look, I had to charge this right now because this thing's about to die. It's already been 32 minutes.
And have some fucking pride. Have some fucking pride. You don't have enough pride to buy your own shoes, socks, clothes, makeup. You don't have enough pride to do this. I see fat girls running in stealing makeup. I see fat. It's not gonna take the fat off, yo. You better steal a lipo machine. You better break into a hospital if that's the case, bro. If you're stealing, what the fuck?